catfishing fans, it's Cat Daddy. This is part 2 of what's hopefully not too many parts of a series. The last video, I got a good start with basically gutting out the inside of the John boat. I won't get into too much detail about that. If you want the detail, you can go back and look in the first video, but as you can see from this angle, what I've done is I've used 2x2 strips of wood, where basically what I did is take Drylok and really give it a nice thick coating on all sides. That way, in the event that water gets down underneath of the floorboard, which it's going to at some point, even if I have to hose the boat out from time to time, none of the wood soaks in any of that water and rots over time. So what I've done is I've laid out all of the framework. I have it completely leveled out. I have two bases, as you can see, one right here in the front and then one towards the back. That's where the pedestals are going to get anchored into the floorboard, and it's just got an additional 2 inches of wood underneath of it. As you can see here, because of the curves of the metal underneath, there were some parts where, in order to keep it completely level and straight, I needed more than just the 2x2 strip of wood, because there was a little bit of a dip or you know, tiny little hills and valleys just from the underside of the boat getting banged up over the decades and such. So now at this point, what I'm going to do is measure out the slots in between all of the beams, and I'm going to be using some foam. It's going to be the composite foam that you can get at your local hardware store, whether it's Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, whatever's nearby to you. You can see it standing up in the background. What I'm going to do is just use a box cutter, and I'm going to form it out and fill in all the holes so there's additional buoyancy and flotation underneath, even more so than what there originally was, because there was just a little bit. It was roughly about 8 inches by 8 inches underneath the front bench. I did not touch the back bench. I'm going to leave it as is to help with the structural integrity. But for this particular step, I'm going to fill in all of the holes as much as possible, and it'll also give it extra cushion underneath for walking around. So go ahead and stick around, and I'm going to speed up on this, and I'm going to get to work. Alright, so now that I have all of the foam pieces properly cut in and fitted through all of the different spaces, I want to have a nice level area to lay down the sheet of plywood. The next step is for me to go ahead and cut it. It's a half-inch sheet of plywood. that I'm going to cut by sections. I'm going to do a rectangle there and then fill it in so that it meets all the curvature and everything, and that's where we're going to go. Okay, so at this point, I've cut all of the pieces of plywood to shape and to size. I've been able to fit them all nice and tight in with each other. And I've also screwed everything in to all of the beams underneath. So everything's nice and level, nice and packed in there. And if you remember, all of the foam is packed in underneath, nice and tight. I was able to get in some spots 3 layers of that high density foam, which is completely waterproof and will keep the boat floating in the event of any swampage or anything with the water coming in. So now the next step is going to be to add a little bead of caulk in between the seams and then go ahead and brush in nice and well into the grain some waterproofer. And then from there, what I'll do is after that, the next step, which will be the final video in this series will be laying the carpet down and then putting in the pedestals and the seats. As you can see, I have already put down holes right here and put some magic marker over top of it so that you'll be able to see it nice and easy, even with a nice thick coat of waterproof paint over it. That marker tends to bleed through, so that makes it real easy for me as a visual marker to know where the holes were already pre-drilled when I go to lay the carpet in. Alrighty, let's get started. Okay, so now you can see that the whole entire sheet of plywood is connected. I've put some beads of caulk in there. I've also done the waterproofing paint at this point, some dry lock to get it nice and moisturized, repellent, as well as give it a nice grit, because the next step in the next video is going to be putting down the epoxy and then laying the indoor-outdoor carpeting over top, cutting it down to size. And what I'll probably do, just to give it a nice look on the edges, on the gunnels, will be on the inside, is to get like a little piece of furring strip that I will paint nice and thick with a good latex waterproof paint, so that way you can't see any of the rough cut edges of the plywood that were underneath. So it'll have a real nice final look to it. Plus, it'll also keep down the edges of the carpeting in case they decided to fray and peel up a little bit. So thanks for watching. This is part 2 of what I hope to be a 3-part series on converting the John boat to more of a bass boat, so there's more leg room and swivel room inside of it, as well as having a nice, even, and sturdy level floor. So thanks so much. Don't forget to give us a like down below, drop a comment with any questions you have or any constructive critique you may have. And as always, please remember to subscribe to our video. Thanks a lot.